I want to try and just clarify exactly what you mean by ephemeral events, because I think I get it, but I just want to yeah, clarify in terms of like the different platforms. So in terms of Google, are you talking about specifically then the way in which the search rankings appear now because they're personalized, and then there's no technical like footprint of those?
Yes, the search results, first of all, they are personalized. Uh, Even if you use an anonymized computer, which is what some researchers do foolishly, very foolishly, because Google's algorithm can recognize an anonymized computer. It has no history, it has no Google profile. So whatever it sends to an anonymized computer tells you nothing about what it's sending to real people. And some of the people who've uh, supposedly looked for political bias on Google, that's what they're using. They're using anonymized computers, which of course show no bias, because we've shown this ourselves. Is that when Google knows that we're watching them, they turn off the bias. So these so-called researchers, they're pathetic in my view. These so-called researchers, and I could name them by name, but I'm not going to use anonymized computers, to looking for bias. That's ludicrous. So yes, first thing is you're getting personalized content, personalized search results. So that's ephemeral. It disappears. It's not preserved anywhere. It's not stored. You're also getting personalized search suggestions. Those are the phrases that are flashed at you while you're typing a search term. Those, it turns out, can be used to manipulate. We've shown in experiments that just by manipulating search suggestions, we can turn, in controlled experiments, we can turn a 50-50 split among undecided voters into more than a 90-10 split.
What?
More than a 90-10 split.
Just from the suggestions, not even from the actual results that appear.
Well, no, the suggestions, once someone clicks, that that determines the list of search results. So it's biased suggestions working in conjunction with biased search results. But the point is, we can show that just by manipulating those suggestions, which then generate search results, we can turn a 50-50 split among undecided voters into more than a 90-10 split. And your reaction was what? And that was my reaction too. I had a team over here from NPR that really screwed me over, by the way, because they did not come here to actually do any kind of legitimate piece on my work. They came here uh, to trash my work. But the interviewer started off by asking me some questions just like yours, and I started giving him numbers, and he said, "Well, that's hard to believe, isn't it?" And I replied, "Hard to believe?" I said, "No, it's completely unbelievable." I said, "That's why I repeat these experiments over and over again with different groups. That's why, we there are published replications of my work." I said, "This is completely unbelievable. These effects that we've stumbled onto, they're unbelievable, but they're real. They're real." And so we have to pay attention to them. We can't just dismiss them as, well, that's hard to believe. They're real. So anyway, ephemeral content. So yes, search results, search suggestions, which can influence people, and then the answer boxes on Google, because now more and more they're just actually giving you the answer in a box. And we've shown in experiments that when they do that, well, guess what? People spend less time looking at search results and less time clicking on search results. And a lot of people believe what's in the answer box. So it turns out, yes, we can shift opinions and voting preferences with answer boxes. We can increase the size of seam. In other words, we can increase the impact of biased search results with a biased answer box. And again, Google knows this, but all of that is ephemeral. And that's just on Google, answer boxes, search suggestions, search results. But there are other platforms out there, and they're also serving up ephemeral content. And even Google, Google they have other services, quote unquote. For example, you can go to Google News and you'll see news feeds. Well, those news feeds are ephemeral. They're also generated on the fly. They're also personalized. They can also be used to influence. Uh, Twitter feeds are ephemeral. Obviously, they're generated
Yeah.
just for you. They're generated on the fly. They disappear. They're gone forever. Uh, Answers on personal assistants are ephemeral.
Mm.
If
Are
I say
they
Alexa,
are they
yeah.
also like personalized? The personal assistant answers, are they sort of more consistent, or is it just as on the fly?
Well, they're also personalized, yeah. But let's say they weren't.
Mm.
Let's say that they're still
Like it's still predatory.
customized.
Yeah.
Well, it's still predatory and they're still customized. For example, they're still going to send different content to someone in a red state than someone in a blue state, or to someone in another country than someone here. And the country by country difference, which we've looked at, can be shocking. I'll give you a quick example. Um, the Guardian, like the New York Times, and for that matter, like UCLA and the University of Michigan, and like a lot of places, the Guardian, which does investigative research on tech and many other topics, the Guardian uses Google products to run everything at the Guardian.
Mm.
So, among other things, that means even though you're getting an email from someone at theguardian.com, if you actually look at the routing on the email, you'll find that it runs through Google because the Guardian.com emails are all Gmails. So
Mm.
that means the Guardian is sharing all of its content, all of its emails, all of its attachments, all of its Google Docs, all of its spreadsheets, everything. When they're working on an investigative story, even researching Google, they're sharing everything with Google. So a particular reporter there who really did some very powerful hit pieces on Google, I said to her, I don't even know how are we supposed to communicate when you are sharing everything with Google itself. And she said, well, I don't like that any more than you do. That's handled by the business people. So here's a reporter, a top reporter, acknowledging that she knows that they've given up their privacy to Google. Anyway, so she is always looking for things they do that are disturbing. So among other things, she finds that when you type something like "are Jews," Jews, "are Jews," uh, Google would send you things like "are Jews evil?" And so this reporter, Carol Cadwalader,
Mm.
she was kind of testing this out, and it occurred to her that a lot of suggestions that were being made by Google would take people down rabbit holes into the world of extremism,
Mm.
extreme white supremacy, extreme Islam. And so she wrote an article about this. She complained to Google. And so Google made some changes, which was, at least she thought they made some changes. So I said to her, yeah, they did make some changes so that in the UK and in the US, if you type "are Jews," it's not giving you "are Jews evil" anymore. I said, yeah, so good job, well done, Carol. I said, but check Canada because it's still happening in Canada. I said, check France and type in, "sont les Juifs," are the Jews. Just type that in. France is still giving you "are they evil?" Check any of the Arab countries. Then you get even worse things. I said, so you've been fooled. They have fooled you. They do whatever they want to do, country by country, region by region, person by person, and all of that content is ephemeral. But what I'm trying to say is even if they're not personalizing, they're still changing what they send people by region, by demographic. So, they're still messing with us. They are still messing with us, and the content is still ephemeral. So you still can't go back in time and figure out what they were showing people, what research results or search suggestions or answer box they were showing people in France last year. Carol ended up concluding, by the way, among other things, that that Google had altered the outcome of the Brexit vote, which is still causing no end of problems in Europe,
Yes.
because, of course, the UK pulled out of the European Union, and
Yes, that was the topic
Car-
of my first book. And I cited
no,
Carol a lot in the book, a lot of her work, actually.
well, one of the things she was saying was she thinks that Google had a lot to do with this, and she thinks that it's a shame, she said, that we can't go back in time and find out what they were showing people. Of course, because it's all ephemeral. That the key to all of this is ephemeral content, which it turns out is exactly what we've been studying since early 2013, and it's it's mind blowing. Little footnote here, since you mentioned Brexit and Carol Cadwalader from the Guardian. Footnote: a reporter from the Times of London was interested in my work at some point. This was right before the Brexit vote. And he said, could a company like Google make a difference in the outcome? I said, yes. He said, well, how big a difference? I said, well, if you get me some facts and figures, I said, I'll run some calculations and I'll tell you. Now, at this point in time, the polls could not call a winner. They were neck and neck. The polls could not call a winner, period. No one knew whether the Brexit vote in the UK was going to pass or not. So was the UK going to pull out of the European Union or not? No one knew. So this reporter gives me a bunch of numbers, which I asked for. I ran the calculations and I said, well, okay, Google can shift, because there's a certain number of undecided voters right now there, we know from surveys, and Google can shift 400,000 votes, I said, without anyone knowing that they're doing it and without leaving a paper trail. And he said, wow, that's amazing. He didn't believe me and he never ran the story. So Brexit passed by guess how many votes?
Oh, what was it? I can't even remember now.
It was about
About
400,000
400,000?
votes, roughly speaking. You can look it up, but now that's probably just a coincidence. But this has happened over and over again in my work. I've told people, I have told people publicly. I've told members of Congress. I've told attorneys general. I've told people over and over again how many votes these companies can shift, and Biden ends up winning by a margin of 6 or 7 million votes. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by about 2.8 million votes. I had said in writing repeatedly before that election in 2016, I had said repeatedly that Google can shift between 2.6 and 10.4 million votes, depending on the assumptions you make and depending how aggressive they are. And Hillary won the popular vote by 2.8 million votes.
Yeah.
So the question is, so what would happen if Google had not exercised any influence in Brexit, had not exercised any influence in our elections here in the US? Well, in 2016, that suggests to me that if Google had pulled out, that the popular vote would have been extremely close.
That's
And the Brexit vote would have been uncallable.
Do we know, like, I'm thinking, first of all, actually, just for clarity for people, it was by 1.3 million votes. Actually, Leave had 17,400,000 and Remain had 16,140,000. So, yeah, just smidge under. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment for us in the comments below. Let me know what you thought and if you'd like to see more of this from the show. Thank you, and We'll see you again next time.